Meet the red-billed oxpecker. 8 inches of pure audacity, and quite possibly the boldest freeloader in all of Africa. While every other animal is out there hunting or running for its life, this little bird figured out a much smarter plan: live on something much, much bigger. That something is a 1,600-pound African buffalo, a wall of muscle, horns, and attitude. And to an oxpecker, that buffalo isn't a dangerous animal at all. It's real estate. Look closer, and you'll see why it moved in. That hide is absolutely crawling with ticks, fat and swollen with blood. To us, that's horrifying. To an oxpecker, it's an all-you-can-eat buffet that walks itself to a new table every single day. Watch the technique. It doesn't peck, it's scissors, sweeping that flat red bill side to side through the fur. Every wrinkle, every fold, every patch of skin gets inspected with the focus of a surgeon who skipped medical school. Ears, eyelids, nostrils, the neck, exactly the places a 2-ton animal can never scratch on its own. One tiny bite at a time, it earns a living almost nobody else wants: professional tick hunter. But here's where the wholesome nature documentary takes a slightly darker turn, because it doesn't only eat ticks. It also drinks blood, keeping old wounds open and helping itself to a little extra straight from the source. The buffalo just tolerates it, the way you tolerate a roommate who does the dishes but also drinks your beer. Helpful cleaner or tiny vampire with excellent PR? Scientists have argued for decades. The honest answer is both. But feeding is only half the hustle, because this bird isn't just eating off the buffalo, it's shopping. When breeding season arrives, it walks right up and yanks hair straight off a living animal. No receipt required. The loot gets carried to a hollow deep inside an old tree. Not a fancy nest in the open, but a vault. From the outside, it's just another dark hole in weathered bark, which is exactly the point. Inside, that stolen hair becomes a lining so soft and warm, no craft store could ever sell it to you. Because a predator can't steal what a predator can't find. And then, the reason for all of it: a clutch of small, speckled eggs. Usually 2 or 3, fragile enough that one careless move could end everything, and needing nearly 2 weeks of constant warmth. So the shifts begin. One bird keeps the eggs warm while the other heads back out to work. Then they switch, again and again. And here's a detail biologists love. Oxpeckers get help from their own grown-up kids. Free babysitting, provided by the family. But the savanna doesn't take days off, and a nest full of eggs is a tempting target. A hungry eagle circles overhead. A curious monkey noses along the branches, always looking for a snack it didn't earn. And worst of all, a snake goes hunting the one way that matters most, straight up the trunk, toward the eggs. This is exactly why they chose a fortress. And then, one morning, a tiny crack. The shell trembles, not because something is attacking from outside, but because something has finally grown strong enough to push from within. And out tumbles a chick that is, let's be honest, not winning any beauty contests. Blind, nearly naked, wobbly, and already somehow absolutely furious with hunger.
Which is perfect timing because every tick and every scrap the parents gathered was really an investment. Now the payoff arrives.
And it arrives with its mouth already wide open before the parent has even landed.
Feeding a chick is less like parenting and more like shoveling coal into a furnace that never fills up.
Only now, the groceries from the buffalo aren't for the parents anymore. Day after day, it works. The naked little gremlin sprouts feathers. The wobble steadies. Slowly, it stops looking like a science experiment and starts looking like an actual bird. And the hollow that once felt enormous starts feeling like a studio apartment, 2 sizes too small. Then comes the part every young oxpecker dreads and needs, the wings. At first, it's mostly enthusiasm and gravity having an argument. But muscles strengthen, feathers harden, balance improves. Every clumsy, embarrassing hop is teaching the exact same lesson. You were built for this. Until finally it reaches the edge of the hollow, looks out at a world it has only ever heard, and hesitates for one honest second. Then it jumps, and for a heartbeat, it drops. Gravity makes its case. Then the wings answer. One beat, then another. Not graceful, not perfect, but enough. And just like that, the savanna gets one more tiny commuter. Out there, the buffalo are still walking, still grazing, still carrying an entire workforce of little birds they mostly pretend not to notice. One species provides transportation, building supplies, and dinner without ever signing a contract. The other quietly raises a whole generation on top of that generosity. One day soon, this young bird will land on a giant of its own. It'll scissor out its first tick. It'll pull its first beakful of hair. And somewhere in a quiet tree, the whole strange, brilliant cycle will start all over again. Buffaloes, rhinos, giraffes, even antelope. If it has fur and enough patience, an oxpecker has already moved in. Because the biggest survival stories in Africa don't always belong to the biggest animals. Sometimes they belong to a bird small enough to sit inside a buffalo's ear and clever enough to build an entire life out of the leftovers of giants. Part cleaner, part con artist, part devoted parent, riding off into the sunset on an animal that never quite agreed to any of this.